What it is, everybody. Welcome to the show. We're 2 days in now into the year of our Lord 2026. Just remember when you're writing checks, like anybody does that anymore. We are rapidly progressing into what do they call it? The singularity. We are probably inside of it right now, as far as that goes. Probably a technological singularity having to do with artificial intelligence. But we're not talking about that much today, most likely. Might cover it a little bit. As always, we'll be looking at the chat for your comments. There is lots of retardation going on the internet still, which we could talk about. Everyone is accusing everyone of being paid. Everything is a conspiracy theory, basically, these days. Someone in my comments said, how much are you getting paid to do this? And I was thinking, really? It's like, why? But that's what's going on right now. Now people are accusing Candace Owens of being promoted by foreign bots, just like they accused Nick Fuentes of being promoted by foreign bots, just like Alex Jones is being paid by Netanyahu, etc. So that's what we have going on the internet. We can talk about that a little bit. We have an Israeli Jew billionaire threatening our First Amendment. That's the one thing that has been able to be done up until recently, up until the purchase of Twitter, basically. We're going to mark that as a dividing line. As one reason we will never be 100% critical of Elon Musk is because Elon Musk changed a lot of things when he decided to buy Twitter because he wanted to make trans jokes, basically. I think that was the reason for it ultimately, is that the Babylon Bee was banned and locked out for making a trans joke, I believe. And that was the last straw for Elon Musk. He bought Twitter and then the landscape changed. And the Jews were in trouble after that, as far as the ones that want the state of Israel to do what the state of Israel wants to do without interference. Up until then, speech was controlled pretty easily. And it by demonetizing people, banning people from PayPal, giving people strikes on their channels, making sure they couldn't get money, banning them from banks if they had to, or if it came down to it, labeling them an anti-Semite, or if you really could get it, labeling them a Holocaust denier, would shut people up pretty much and ban them from existence. Now things are different. Today, for example, Tucker Carlson, one of the biggest podcasts in the world, had on Ian Carroll, a prominent quote unquote anti-Semite, who didn't talk about those issues on Tucker's show today. Talked about something actually worthwhile, which is the Las Vegas shooting, which I bring up many times when we want to talk about real conspiracies that we want to focus on. But in any case, the lead story, or the first story in my headline, has to do with an Israeli Jew who went on CNBC and said, it's like, Americans, listen up. The First Amendment is no good. We need to control speech better because people don't support Israel anymore. It's pretty simple. Pretty simple. The landscape has changed. This has to do with, in a lot of ways, with the murder. I'm sorry. It's relevant in regards to the murder of Charlie Kirk, not in the sense that Israel did it, but in the sense that Charlie Kirk was a key piece in the board game that Jewish interests sought to control, basically, was Charlie Kirk. And that organization, which is the biggest Republican organization for the youth, because it's the youth that think differently than the boomers, who the brainwashing worked on and who will support Israel no matter what they do. The youth are different, and Charlie Kirk was an important part of trying to hold them together and keep them on the side of Israel. He was meant to be controlled opposition in the end because he was changing his mind due to the changing of the people he was talking to. But he was going to be some kind of controlled opposition, basically, ideally. Someone who would criticize Israel for some things, but make sure people didn't criticize them for other things. Stupid. That's an interesting comment. Like Israel care what the people think of them. If you don't think they do, then you're living in an alternate universe. So you have an appropriate username. They care. If they don't care, they sure pretend they do a lot. Because literally, Israel needs our support for anything they choose to do. The money is very small. The 3.5 billion, that's not a lot of money. It's that we have to give them approval for anything they do, or they won't do it. Otherwise, they would have annexed the West Bank already. Pretty much fact. If we approved of it, if Trump approved of it, they would have annexed the West Bank. They couldn't have done what they did in Gaza without our approval and our defense and us vetoing everything in the United Nations and so forth. They need us. And in order for them to control what our government does, they need Americans to support them because we live in something like a democracy. And people need to vote for people like Ron DeSantis, like Ted Cruz, like Donald Trump, who are going to support Israel. Israel does care. Saying they don't care, well, it's very contrary to how they act. If they don't care, then why do they want to get rid of the Second Amendment? Why do they want Larry Ellison to control all media? Why did they have Barry Weiss take over CBS and put in an ultra-Zionist as their network host? And then CBS now is pretending they care about the people, but watch their messaging on Israel. They're pretending they care about the people, but watch their messaging on Israel. You'll see. So, interesting comment. Like Israel care what people think of them. Interesting. Well, I'll play the clip that's going around. On the same topic, Iran is on the verge of a complete breakdown, it seems like. So there's a big protest and they're starting to shoot at people, and Trump says we're going to intervene. And that would be, again, in the interest of Israel, who would have also done regime change in Israel if not for us telling them to stop. There's a video of Bibi saying he doesn't care what Americans think. There's a video of Bibi saying we're all brainwashed and making fun of the evangelical movement, which is hijacked by Israel, making fun of Americans because we're so easy to control. But anyway, I'm not going to pay attention to the nonsense too much. Although I like disagreement. I like responding to it. So anyway, Trump put out a Truth Social that because Iran is cracking down on the protests there, which are probably infiltrated or promoted by the CIA in Israel, that we are going to intervene somehow, that we are locked and loaded. So there's some news that their banks are about to collapse, possibly. So I have that news for you today. I have some news from the big fire, just some video from it, which I'm going to lead with. I have news about Zohran Mamdani and the communist revolution. So, and a little bit of news about fraud too. So we'll talk about different themes today. We try to talk like high-end themes, and so forth. Everyone's energy right now is on fraud, but is it righteously placed? Is it righteously placed? Yeah, compared to where it could be placed. Let's talk about it. So we're going to talk about those things. We are going to have intellectual conversations that hopefully you can't find anything exactly like this on any other channel. So you'll continue to tune in and buy coffees. So thanks for joining me. This is the Lift the Veil Show. I'm Nathan Stoltman, and we are live. Okay, cue musical intro. Boy, that's brilliant. I do think some things in the world are real. Like you guys. You guys are real. Most of you. Most of my listeners, I think, are not just in my head. I think I have the metrics to prove it. You've taken a leap of faith today. What is that sound? And I apologize if you take offense. I'm a little offended myself. Welcome to our show. Welcome to the future. What it is, joining you live from sunny California. It's a beautiful day today. I'm your host, Nathan Stoltman. And I bring you the news, the real news. Yes, the real news. Something like exactly the real news with conversation from the chat. So thanks again for joining me. If you want to support the show, because I'm not paid by Israel to attack Candace Owens, although I've sent out a notification. I asked BB, I was like, hey, BB, I don't like Candace. Can I get the $7,000? So I put it out there, but apparently I don't have enough influence. So I haven't gotten my $7,000 check yet, but I'm fishing for it. I'm asking for it. So hopefully, I don't mind. I will get paid. I'm okay with that. That's fine. But if you want to pay me for what we talk about in this show and support my research, which is powered by coffee and sugar, we can talk about my diet if you'd like, my diet to try to live forever, which has to do with eating cookies and drinking coffee. Go to buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil because we are demonetized on YouTube still. Buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil is a great way to support the show. You can drop as many coffees as you want. They're $5 each, cheaper than the actual price of a cup of coffee, given inflation and tariffs. And you can leave a note, and you can do it anytime. Unlike Super Chats, I don't have to be live for you to drop it off. You could be someone listening to the podcast version of this show, which happens afterwards, and you can still drop coffees, and I'll still read them at the end of every show. So go to buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil, or if you need clothing, or if you like cool clothing, cool high quality clothing, go to truthclothing.io, which is our business, which sells t-shirts. And these are not drop shipped on demand t-shirts. These are t-shirts which were stocked, screen printed, not digitally printed, so it lasts a lot longer. And they are all on high quality shirts, which everyone who buys them will agree with. So check out truthclothing.io. Check out our designs. We saw these propaganda baseball shirts. We have our Truth Matters baseball shirts. We have Question Everything in several styles and colors. We have our Bitcoin shirts. Today, I'm going to talk about the one possible thing that makes Bitcoin superior to gold, although we like gold these days. The one possible thing that makes Bitcoin superior to gold, which is alchemy. We're going to talk about alchemy today. But Bitcoin is safe from being able to transmute lead into gold if it ever happens. Bitcoin, there will only be 21 million. It will last. It is mathematically secure. So get your Bitcoin shirts. Bitcoin Saves is a great one. Crypto Future, HODL, $10 and $5 shirts, $20 sweatshirt. Get those. And ladies, as I'll always remind you, we have our most popular design, which says question everything. And we still think it's great to ask questions. Ladies designs, we have those in stock. Very nice bell and canvas, high quality shirts that were originally $30. They're $10. Buy them in bulk because you'll never see them again for these prices, if at all. All right. That's at truthclothing.io. And because we work with the chat, we will respond a little bit. John says gold can't be cracked by quantum computers. That's true. That's true. Although crypto gold, which I like, can kind of be. I like crypto gold these days. What's going on with silver is everybody's hyping it, but just I suggest that it has been in a manic phase. So I think it's okay to buy it, but it might be in a lull for a little while because it was in a manic phase. People are hyping it still as if something crazy is about to happen, as if banks are about to get crushed because of silver. People are claiming manipulation, but don't necessarily buy into all the hype. Don't rush out and spend all your money on it today, but buy some regularly over time. It is a helpful thing because we know that the thing we use as money is fake and is not worth anything except what people think it's worth. And what people think it's worth goes down over time. So BTC is not somebody's liability. You have that wrong. It's nobody's liability. I'm not sure where you came up with that. It's cash. It's just like cash, just like gold. You can hold it securely in your own wallet. It's just like gold that way. So it's actually it's the opposite of somebody else's liability because it's real. It's just like having cash in your wallet if you have it. So that's an interesting point. I've never heard somebody say it's somebody else's liability. If you hold it in a bank, I guess you could maybe say that. I'm not sure. Not sure. Interesting point of view. All right. So there was a fire in a Swiss ski resort. I'm just going to show you that. That was a big story at the beginning of this year. Just want to show you that young people obviously are insane because the fire started and people kept dancing. I guess that's symbolic of the age we live in. The fire was burning and nobody cared, apparently. So I'll play you that video right now. This is video from the nightclub. It was apparently in a basement with one entrance. And it looks like people had a chance to get out of there, but didn't. That's crazy. That's really insane. Like, what on earth were they thinking? They could have gotten out of there, obviously, and they kept dancing and filming it for Instagram. What's up, Tacoma? Town crier says false flag. Well, it looks like fire. So that happened apparently. So people are not being taught to run away when the building they're in catches on fire. The music keeps playing and people keep dancing and people pull out their phones to record it for their Instagram followers. It does look cool. I will say that. It does look really cool. It is kind of cool to be dancing to music while everything's burning down around you, but it probably gets worse after that. That's all. So here's a story about somebody praying who was saved from the fire. So I'll play you that. See what you think about the power of prayer and the power of trinkets.
J'ai un ami à moi, c'est tout pareil. Il n'arrivait pas à sortir et il s'est juste assis.
I understand French, but you guys don't. This is what happens. I look at the text and I save the video, and then I play the video so I can react in real time to what I see. I don't always preview it. I didn't realize it was in French. I can understand it, but she's going to tell a story about how somebody that she was with and couldn't get away from the fire, knelt down and prayed and held on to their cross, and the fire didn't consume them. That's all. But it's in French, which I know you guys don't speak French. So in English, it said, a friend of mine couldn't get out and he just sat down and held his cross in his hand. The fire just avoided him. The fire didn't touch him. The fire was all around him, but not on him. Praise God. That's what it says. So that's the story from the Swiss fire, which some people say is a false flag. I guess we're allowed to use those words now. I don't know. Used to be just say that, you get a strike. All right. So there's a person in my chat who's like Shimpa Shield says, the roof is on fire. And the town crier says 40 dead isn't true. Yeah. I sometimes used to question mass casualty events more. You're certainly not allowed to, but per the YouTube terms of service, you're not allowed to say that widely accepted events didn't happen. But some other things you are allowed to say these days. So there was a person in my chat who is either here or isn't here who said, Israel doesn't care what people think. So what has happened on the internet? Let's see if we can talk big picture. Is Elon Musk allowed free speech by buying Twitter? People immediately started saying things about Jews that they couldn't say before and started getting huge engagement for it. Speaking of conspiracy theories, some people are paid, actually, like TPUSA and probably the Daily Wire. Some people are paid to control their opinions. That's true. Politicians take donations to control what they think and what they allow. Donald Trump was sponsored by Miriam Adelson, and before that, her husband in the first election. That sponsorship got Miriam Adelson things she wanted. So that's true. So that is one way that people are manipulated, is by being funded by people who have interests that they expect you to do for them. So what happened in the first term for Donald Trump, because he got a bunch of money from a huge mega Zionist, the Adelsons, who have their money because of gambling. So, which is mostly the Goyim probably that are doing that. The non-Jews do the gambling, which the Pope is warning people against these days, by the way, you good Catholics. You don't want to gamble. And gambling has lots of forms. Almost everything has been commoditized or monetized. Now you can gamble on literally everything. In any case, the Adelsons funded Trump, so Trump moved the embassy to Jerusalem, the American embassy to Jerusalem, which is a long-time goal of Israeli Zionists. And he also recognized the Golan Heights during his first term, which was a long-time goal of Israel. He also got out of the nuclear deal with Iran, which was a long-time goal of the Zionists and Israel. So those were promises made, promises kept, pretty much, for Donald Trump in his first term. In his second term so far, he has bombed, he allowed the slaughter in Gaza to continue, blocked all the UN resolutions against Israel, and supported Israel and didn't recognize Palestine as a state, and mostly calls for a one-state solution, does not recognize Palestinians as having their own land. Those are all things done in the interest of Israel. He also bombed the nuclear facilities at Fordo, allowed the attack on the 12-day war to occur, and is now threatening Iran to help with the regime change, I guess. So once again, promises made, promises kept. He's been called the first Jewish president by Mark Levin. So those are all things that Donald Trump has done because he's supported by Israel. Now, there are other ways to be incentivized. Okay. So, which are algorithmic in nature and are based on actually what people pretty much want to hear, which is people want to hear and have wanted to hear and have supported for a long time people critical of Israel. Nick Fuentes can be credited as leading that particular revolution and taking the most heat for it and arising on the other side of it. He broke the hymen, I guess you could say, if you want to be gross. But he was the one who proved it was possible to be demonetized, to be deplatformed, to do all of that and still come back. But he still couldn't have come back and had the run he had last year without Elon Musk and without Rumble. So, but he's got one platform basically where he's allowed to exist. And because of that, he's one of the most influential people on the internet. After the freedom of Twitter and allowing the algorithms to work, and TikTok and Instagram Reels, people noticed that it became popular to criticize Israel. So you can also argue, even though people are being paid by Israel to support Israel, people are being paid by the algorithms on the paid platforms to criticize Israel. Just to be completely fair, people are incentivized now by the algorithms to criticize Israel. And I know, I can tell, because my most famous video, my most viewed video on TikTok still, even though it's supposedly a little bit controlled by Larry Ellison and somebody who's an IDF soldier, my most viewed video by miles and miles and miles, like over like many hundreds of thousands of views, is a video about the victim of the Hanukkah shooting in Australia, questioning his legitimacy based on a picture which may or may not have been AI. I'm not actually sure. So based on something that might be fake, a video criticizing that guy and just asking questions, simply asking questions, not accusing. I didn't say he was a crisis actor. I just said, what do you think, basically, like I usually do, because I have experience in challenging the old algorithm. So it's hard to break away from. Without accusing him of being a crisis actor, I said, oh, look, you know, his head is totally healed in this picture, which might be AI. I don't know. Got many, many, many hundreds of thousands of views. So people are incentivized. Just realize that. I just want people to realize that people are paid both ways these days, ever since the freedoms of the algorithm. And that includes Ian Carroll, who is relatively new to the scene, talking about things other people talked about a long time ago and were not rewarded. So it used to be that people were not rewarded for telling the truth about Israel. They were demonetized, like me, taken off PayPal. They got strikes, they got shadow bans, etc. Nowadays, it is popular to do that. So, which doesn't mean that people aren't being truthful, just means that it can go both ways. That's all. It can go both ways. Then people can lean into it or Tucker had on Ian Carroll today, he's leaning into the conspiracy side because the conspiracy side, the anti-Jew side, get clicks. And these days you actually make money from it. You actually make money from it. That's all. So I'm just telling you that both things can be true at the same time. People are paid to support Israel. People are paid to criticize Israel, actually. Interesting. Kind of an interesting way to look at things. But I just suggest you look at things from different points of view. Anyway, because of the algorithms, because people are popular on TikTok, because criticism of Israel is now mainstream, and because the people criticizing Israel make good points. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Because the people criticizing Israel actually make really good points, because Nick Fuentes is extremely well read and understands things very well. He predicted what would happen with Iran. That's why he said he wasn't going to vote for Trump. And he was rewarded in viewers really during the Iran conflict. That was when his channel really blew up, because his geopolitical analysis was correct about what Israel was trying to do. Israel is trying to do the Greater Israel Project, which even Steve Bannon is talking about now. The Greater Israel Project was a conspiracy theory. Israel wants to take more land. Palestinians say from the river to the sea. That's what Israel believes too. They believe it's their land, that it was given to them by God. It is kind of part of their religion, but it's also not religious. Zionism in itself is not a religion. It's not based on their religion. And some of the most religious Jews are anti-Zionist Jews. But it's about control, domination, Zionism, and the Greater Israel Project. It's about dominating the region for economic benefits and everything else. So Israel, it is not a conspiracy. If you analyze the things they say, they want to dominate everyone, remove all of their enemies, and basically control the entire Middle East. And that's what the Abraham Accords are about too. So everyone has to recognize Israel. Otherwise, Israel will fuck with them until their leadership changes or until they're just destroyed, pretty much. Very ruthless country. Kind of a ruthless religion, to be fair. The Old Testament and the New Testament are very different. In the Old Testament, God hates the enemies of the Jews and destroys them. In the Christian religion, Jesus says we love our enemies and we welcome them to Christianity. Very, very different religions. So religion does play a part in it. So isn't Steve Bannon on the Epstein list? Steve Bannon, very good friends with Jeffrey Epstein. Very good friends with Jeffrey Epstein. So anyway, so that is what is going on, is people are telling the truth and getting rewarded for it these days. And Jews don't like it. Or I'm sorry, pros, especially people who care about the agenda of Israel, the Greater Israel Project, Middle East domination, they need American support. Israel depends on us. Israel depends on us to always have their back, to always veto everything in the UN that's critical of them. Obviously, the other Western European countries don't do that. Australia doesn't. Canada doesn't really, although they didn't go in on the Palestine thing. But obviously, European nations are willing to back Palestinians and Arab populations. And the United States so far supports Israel. Trump actually keeps a leash on them a little bit. I'll give him some credit. It's amazing they don't criticize him for how much he loves Qatar and UAE and Saudi Arabia, because he loves them too, because he loves money and the petrodollar. But Israel needs us, needs American support. And because of that, they're incentivized to control speech because of the reasons I said. Now, the truth gets out, and that's problematic for them. That's all. The truth is problematic for Israel because people see the suffering they caused in Gaza. People see the civilian casualties. People see the disproportionate use of force. People realize October 7th was, if not a false flag, seems to have been allowed to have happened for strategic reasons. It was used for strategic reasons. We can certainly say that. The Hannibal Directive seems to have happened. They seem to have killed their own people to add to the casualty total, made up a lot of things about beheading babies, cooking babies in ovens, and sexual assault, which all weren't true. And criticizing any of those things got you labeled an anti-Semite, and still does, basically, even if you're not anti-Semitic. So anyway, this guy came on TV. This Israeli billionaire, cybersecurity billionaire, Shlomo Kramer. Yeah, he says because of AI. So that's the imaginary threat now is AI, which he might mean algorithms. But because of AI, we must control. Here's the pitch.
I know it's difficult to hear, but it's time to limit the First Amendment in order to protect it. And quickly before it's too late.
What do you mean?
I mean that we need to control the platforms, all the social platforms. We need to stack rank the authenticity of every person that expresses themselves online and take control over what they are saying based on that ranking.
The government.
The government should
control the social media.
Yeah. I know it's difficult to hear, but it's time to limit the.
I'll play it a second time so you can hear the argument.
To protect it.
We all need to be
quickly before
identified and ranked.
I mean that we need to.
Who does the ranking?
All the social platforms. We need to stack rank the authenticity of every person that expresses themselves online and take control over. What they are saying based
take control
on
over what they're saying
based
on their ranking. Based on their ranking. So we need a few different things. Digital ID. We have to prove we're human, which actually is coming, I think, because actually bots don't deserve free speech. I actually kind of agree in some ways. Bots don't deserve free speech. I'm going to say that. It might be controversial. Bots don't deserve free speech because they're not humans. Humans deserve free speech. Elon Musk is talking about a way to separate humans from bots on X because he says otherwise the bots will take control. And that way is going to be like very small payments to make it economically harder, not impossible, but economically more difficult for bots to control social media, which I don't necessarily disagree with because actually bots don't deserve free speech. And it's possible that there can be foreign influence because of bots, especially because of how sophisticated AI is. But he's also saying, without explicitly saying, that you can't have anonymity online, which is one of the most important things that we should be able to have. Because everybody on X, or a lot of people on X, use fake names or avatars to express themselves because they don't want to lose their jobs necessarily. They don't want to be identified necessarily. Zero Hedge, the financial website, which also talks about certain conspiracies and theories and stuff, they were anonymous for a long time and they used pseudonyms like Tyler Durden and George Washington. Because they predicted they would say bad things about corporations because corporations have interest in shutting you up if you say bad things about them. If you short Tesla, they're going to look into your life. There's a famous case of gang stalking from eBay because people criticized eBay and then started to get gang stalked by that company. So there are lots of entities that will try to destroy your life if you criticize them, and they have a lot of resources. Israel, and especially certain American Jews, have a lot of resources, and they wield them to serve their interests, just like anybody, just like a lot of people do. It just so happens that a lot of wealth is disproportionately in the hands of Jewish billionaires. They make up just a huge percentage of all billionaires in the world. So they have resources to go after people, or to try to modify the algorithms of tech platforms too. And a lot of the people that are the head of tech platforms happen to be Jewish, like Google and Facebook, for example. But social credit score, he's talking about social credit score. He says you have to be ranked based on how accurate you are, while you're going to be deranked for saying, like, this is what they'll derank you for and call misinformation. It's like Zohran Mamdani did a few things Jews didn't like in New York on his first day. Bill Ackman really criticized him. He got rid of I think it's the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism. And he got rid of the anti-BDS measures in New York, which are not anti-Semitic. BDS isn't anti-Semitic. It's like a political movement which we used against apartheid South Africa back in the day. There was a BDS against apartheid South Africa to make them stop being apartheid. It's just a political movement. It has nothing to do with Jewish people necessarily. And the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism says that certain things are anti-Semitic, which are not. Like saying that there are disproportionate amounts of Jewish people in media would be considered anti-Semitic, even though it's true. So the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism classifies as anti-Semitism things that are actually true. And it just says, well, you can't say them. If you talk about Jewish influence in banking, they'll say that's anti-Semitic, even if you're saying something that's true. So anyway, Zohran got rid of that. Bill Ackman is hella mad. And then they'll go so far as to say being anti-Zionist is anti-Semitic, which is saying that Zionism is anything but a political movement, which it's not religious, it's not Jewish. It's a political movement. It was pushed by the UK to begin with. So anyway, they'll score you, though. That's what he's proposing. Identifying you and scoring you, and then deranking you. All things that are anti-American. Anonymity is an American thing, basically. Like a lot of the stuff during the American Revolution against England was written pseudonymously. Some of those authors, it wasn't written under their real names, because if it was, they could have gotten killed by the crown. So we need anonymity at times. So it is an important thing to fight for. However, we are going to have to prove we're human somehow, unfortunately, because of the robots. So it's a difficult tightrope, actually, that we're in. We will have to prove we're human somehow, but we can prove that with anonymous cryptocurrency. So cryptocurrency allows for anonymity because you can hold crypto in something that's not attached to your identity. You can't buy it. You can't really buy it, or it's very difficult to buy it without revealing your identity, but you can hold it somewhere that isn't necessarily identified, although the government can kind of figure it out pretty easily. All right. So anyway, that's that story. He wants to control the First Amendment. And it's what's going on with Larry Ellison taking control of everything, trying to take control of Warner Brothers too. All right. So anyway, that's going on. Bots could use digital currency. Well, Monero, you mentioned. Bitcoin had a bad year. I had some Monero. I sold it for Bitcoins at some point this year. I had some Monero. Monero had a great year. Nobody's talking about it anymore. Monero was up like 50% or something. It was up as much as gold. While every other cryptocurrency crashed, Monero was up. So I don't know. Maybe I should buy some. Monero, it seems like, I mean, it's an anonymous cryptocurrency is superior to Bitcoin. Monero is superior to Bitcoin, technologically and otherwise, because it doesn't track everything you do. You can do things anonymously. It's real cash. Monero is actual cash. So, and no, I haven't seen, nobody talks about it, but it was up all year. It was hitting all-time highs when Bitcoin was getting crushed. We could check it now. And maybe I should buy some. I don't know. Monero is anonymous money. Let's see. Yeah, it's up. It was up today. It's up to $428. Let's look at the chart. That's real cash. That's real cash. Year to date. Yeah, it's up. It's about as high as it has. This is year to date. That's only over a few days. There's the 1 year chart though. It's near highs. We'll go max. So it's not as up as much over time as Bitcoin, but it's near its all-time highs right now, which all other cryptocurrencies are not. So yeah, I mean, if you want to be able to do what you want and not have the government follow it, because they will be able to follow everybody, even with anonymous wallets using AI tools, they'll be able to figure you out. So Monero, yeah, still looking good. Nuckfugget, I had more than one Monero. I had Monero. I just don't have any anymore. I transferred it to Bitcoin. Stupidly, I guess. No, I had more than that actually, but it's a good cryptocurrency. I'll have to look at how to buy it. I think you need Cake Wallet. I think if you have Cake Wallet, you can buy it with Bitcoin. And then the government, then the government doesn't know about it, and you can use it to buy drugs probably on the dark web. Probably. I don't know much about it. All right. So Trump threatened, speaking of Israel, Trump threatened Iran. He said if Iran, he didn't use very good English. He said if Iran shot, he meant shoots. If Iran shoots and violently kills peaceful protesters, which is their custom, the United States will come to their rescue. We are locked and loaded and ready to go. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. I'm sure the people who voted for him, that's what they want. We will intervene somehow in the protests against that country. We are actually locked and loaded and ready to go. We don't know what he means. We have no idea what that means. How do we do that without starting a war? Good question. Somebody from Iran said that that's a bad idea. This is from the Secretary of the Islamic Republic of Iran's Supreme National Security Council. He said, with the statements by Israeli officials and Donald Trump, what has been going on behind the scenes is now clear. We distinguish between the stance of the protesting shopkeepers and the actions of disruptive actors. And Trump should know that U.S. interference in this internal matter would mean destabilizing the entire region and destroying America's interests. The American people should know Trump started this adventurism. They should be mindful of their soldiers' safety. Yep. Yeah, I mean, Trump is really going to have to say, if we're going to send soldiers to die, to fight and die for something that he would have to prove why we care as Americans, who is in charge of Iran, or whether protesters are getting killed by their government, he would have to somehow justify that to people. Easy to justify to Israel, who wants to change the government because they don't want any enemies in the area that could possibly fight back. But difficult to justify to Americans. Lindsey Graham supports it. He says on the peace and standing up to evil front, on the peace front, right? President Trump is on pace to surpass the great Ronald Reagan. A weakened Iran, a nation run by religious Nazis, is due to President Trump's efforts to isolate Iran economically and to use military force wisely. It's time to make Iran great again. At least he says it explicitly. Under President Trump's leadership and in collaboration with our allies, I can see the demise of Hamas and Hezbollah in 2026, paving the way for normalization between Saudi Arabia and Israel. This would be the biggest change in the Middle East in thousands of years. Once again, definitely see how that helps Israel, but how does it help us? Like, why do Americans care? MAGA. It's not MAGA. We're making other countries great. We want to fix Venezuela. We want to fix Iran. And we'll say we're going to do something about fraud in America, about Americans struggling and healthcare and everything else. But really, we just want to go around fixing other countries so that we install American-friendly governments, mostly probably for the control of their resources. And because Israel wants it. Maro Nafal is saying there's a secret letter from Iran's central bank, which says that every major bank has been told to enter full emergency mode immediately. The letter warns of attacks, blackouts, and loss of control scenarios. Banks are being ordered to secure their data, activate backup systems, and keep money moving if anything collapses. He prints a letter here, but I don't speak Arabic. So I just have to go based on what Mario is saying. And I don't know if he's telling the truth, but we'll assume maybe he is. So certainly they could become the victims of cyber attacks. Israel is probably very good at that. So Iran is being destabilized, and even Lindsey Graham admitted it. We've been attempting to destabilize Iran, and Israel certainly has been attempting to destabilize Iran to put in a friendly government like we've done before. And like we're trying to do in Venezuela right now. All right, so that's the news on Israel and Iran. Now we can talk about communism. So on one hand, people are talking about a tax strike because of fraud. People are still talking about a tax strike because of fraud, which I can understand. Somebody said on my show, or somebody said in my comments after my last show, talking about the tax strike idea, that I was saying something I wasn't saying. Like I was saying the fraud was okay. It's not that the fraud was okay. It's just that actually in the grand scheme of things, it's not that much money. It's a lot, but compared to the interest we pay on the debt, which is probably the thing we should be most concerned about, the line item in our budget, which is going up the most, fraud in Minnesota, I'll get to that. So anyway, I'll get to that though. I'll get to that. We're not there yet. We're going to talk about communism. New York City elected an actual communist. And that's where the left is going. And I think it's kind of typical in late stage capitalism, where you get this massive bifurcation in economies where the wealthy are so wealthy and the poor are doing so badly that you get calls for communism and you get sympathy for communism because people see people who have money and want to take it from them because they think it's not fair, which it isn't. But it's not the result of actual capitalism. It's the result of fake capitalism. It's the result of money printing and debt. But a lot of it has to do with money printing and the fact that the wealthiest people benefit the most from our debt, from our money printing, and because they hold the assets. And the assets go up while everybody who doesn't hold assets gets worse off. And then they get jealous of the people who have the assets and want to take from them to make their lives better, not realizing that communism has never worked before. And actually, what Mamdani wants is for everyone to have free. It's really interesting considering the fraud. Considering we're seeing the fraud in Minnesota from the Somalis, taking advantage of government programs, that Mamdani wants a government program in exactly the field that everybody's talking about, which is daycare. And this is like, once again, daycare is becoming the biggest expense for a lot of people, for people who have young children. But the reason for that goes back to the destruction of our currency. It all goes back pretty much to 1971 when we went off the gold standard and inflation really got going. We started printing money, and we started printing money mostly for wars. And then people had to work 2 jobs for one family. So women started having to work. So it's all the result of feminism, which was a scam to get women to work, which also has to do with the greed of big corporations. It also helps big corporations make more money. But it all goes back to that. We only need daycare because we have a fucked system. We only need daycare because we ruined the family by destroying the currency and entering this fiat system that we've been in since 1971. Before that, one job, usually the man, or a woman could choose to work and they could afford daycare. They could afford it before based on what they were getting paid, because it was actually higher in terms of real value before. Now, everybody makes less compared to real things. Incomes haven't gone up. Incomes have gone down on average when you measure it against things that are real, like gold, silver, real estate, stocks. Things that are show you what inflation really is. So you get this communist point of view. People become socialists. People are like, oh, we'll steal from the rich people to fund everything. Well, when the government funds things, it makes things more expensive. When the government funds things, the government got involved in education. Education is more expensive. The government got involved in loaning people money for housing. Housing got way more expensive. The government gets involved with daycare. Now daycare is more expensive for people who have to pay for it. And then how do you fix it? More government. It never works. More government always makes things worse. Always. So anyway, he says there's going to be universal daycare. Well, imagine the fraud. That's all. Just imagine the fraud. And once again, it really just helps corporations not have to pay people what they're worth. If corporations aren't paying you enough, then you wouldn't take the job. Right now, like right now, if daycare wasn't subsidized by the government, women wouldn't be able to afford to go to work. So who is it helping out? It's basically just helping out corporations not have to pay as much as they would have to pay people. It's just like people working at Walmart and still needing food stamps. Without the government programs, things would naturally balance. That's how capitalism is supposed to work. But instead of that, this is what Mamdani proposes: free daycare.
Here, where the language of the New Deal was born, we will return the vast resources of this city to the workers who call it home. Not only will we make it possible for every New Yorker to afford a life they love once again, we will overcome the isolation that too many feel and connect the people of this city to one another. The cost of childcare will no longer discourage young adults from starting a family, because we will deliver universal childcare for the many by taxing the wealthiest few. Those in rent-stabilized homes will no longer dread the latest rent hike, because we will freeze the rent. Getting on a bus without worrying about a fare hike or whether you'll be able to get to your destination on time will no longer be deemed a small miracle, because we will make those buses fast and free. These policies are not simply about the costs we make free, but the lives we fill with freedom. For too long in our city, freedom has belonged only to those who can afford to buy it. Our city hall will change that. These promises carried our movement to City Hall, and they will carry us from the rallying cries of a campaign to the realities of a new era in politics.
Well, anyway, lots of things are wrong with that. There are always unforeseen consequences. Making buses free will mean that they'll be filled with homeless people. If you just want to use simple logic, because they'll want to get out of the cold or the heat and be on a nice bus if it's free for everybody. Subways are nicer and trains are nicer when people have to pay for them, because it filters out the people who can't pay. So the buses are probably going to be filled with homeless people who will just ride them all day long if they don't have to pay. It's just like social media will be flooded by bots if they don't have to pay. So there are reasons things cost something. There's just reasons for it. There are reasons to make people sometimes pay for things. It's valuable to do some things for free. But anyway, and certainly free buses sounds good. Fast buses sound good. But you can also make it so that it's just cheaper, more efficient. I'm not saying privatizing everything is the way to go. There's certainly economic value to be derived for a city from having a good transportation system. I'm not even saying subsidizing it isn't necessarily a bad idea that people can benefit from, but there are always consequences. I don't know how he's going to do it anyway. The healthcare, well, I mean, the free childcare is just going to be, obviously, there's going to be tons of fraud. It doesn't really incentivize people to make families, because it just means more women will be working, theoretically, which is one of the things that's fucking up family development at these times. It's not bad for women to work if they want to work, but anyway, that's what he said. And then he said this. This is what he said.
We will replace the frigidity of rugged individualism with the warmth of collectivism. There
you go.
We will replace the frigidity of rugged individualism with the warmth of collectivism.
Yeah.
If our
That's not back in the day, one of the features of white people is that they have rugged individualism. So the other thing about communism is it just doesn't work. Bernie Sanders says it does. I want to get Bernie Sanders tax the rich. But this is what happens in late stage pseudo capitalism. Is that people demand communism, and the Democrats will probably win because we are in the late stages.
Lastly, and maybe most importantly, demanding that the wealthy and large corporations start paying their fair share of taxes.
They're all saying tax the rich.
As I was saying,
The rich already pay most of the taxes. The bottom 50%, I think, don't pay taxes. I think that's what people say. The rich pay most of the taxes already, and they do it willingly so far. But the biggest problem with Bernie Sanders and Zohran Mamdani raising taxes on rich people in New York is that people can move and they'll just leave. It'll actually reduce your tax revenue. And that's what's happening in California. They're proposing, Bernie Sanders supports a 5% confiscation tax on billionaires. And so they're all leaving. They're all going to Texas and Florida, where they don't have income tax at all. So all these people that were happy to be in New York, happy to be in California, were paying the large majority of all the taxes. Rich people already pay most of the taxes. They'll just leave. And if you do it in America, they'll leave this country and you'll lose our biggest producers. As much as I believe in a progressive tax system. I think rich people should pay more percentage wise of their income than poor people. I think that's fair. I do believe that's fair. A progressive tax system, I believe, is fair. I believe it's more fair than using a really high sales tax. Sales tax is regressive. It affects poor people worse. Poor people actually do pay a lot in taxes, actually, because of sales tax in a lot of places. So, and a lot of times, effectively, percentage-wise, they pay less because rich people have capital gains and stuff. But if you just start confiscating their money, they'll leave. That's all. They'll leave. Then you'll lose your best people. They'll all go somewhere where they can keep their money. So it's not, they'll just leave New York. Just like Peter Thiel just left California. He opened up an office in Miami. A bunch of other billionaires did that too. People are moving to Austin and Miami pretty much for more favorable tax status. And then New York just loses it, all of it. So actually the problem with the policies is it actually reduces revenue overall. When you go too far, people leave. So if they're able to do it, they won't make the money. They won't make the money they think they will because all the people they think they would make the money off just up and go. That's it. They'll just leave New York. But this is America. You can choose where you want to live. And And actually, this is like the world. You can choose what country you want to live in too. People move to Dubai. I guess people like it there. Elon Musk left California a long time ago because California was too restrictive. Even though he still keeps his company here, Tesla, they're still building cars in Fremont. They still have factories here, but they don't have to. People just go somewhere that's easier on them. So, and actually, as far as rents go, I'll show you this. I've been telling you guys housing prices are going to come down and rents are coming down. Rents, free markets work. That's all. Sometimes it takes longer than it should. But over time, capitalism works. Rugged individualism works. I saw somebody say that greed is the problem. Greed is actually a feature, not a problem. If you really look at economics, and they don't teach real economics in school, but if you read the books by like Adam Smith and stuff, some of the people that really knew, that's how things work, is because of people doing things in their own interests and because of people being greedy and wanting more money. That's why they build things. Not all of us have that gene. If I had $1 billion, I don't think I would want more, probably, but some people do. And those people build things. And actually, over time, it should make things cheaper. People find efficiencies because of greed. Grocery stores are stocked because of capitalism. The price mechanism is because of capitalism. Without a profit motive, there would be no motive to do things more efficiently. These people don't understand that because for the most part, most of them who promote it are just intellectuals who have been paid for thinking and saying things, or they're politicians who never really worked, never owned a business. It just got wealthy by talking. But if you look into capitalism, it's the reason that things happen. It's the way you discover prices. It's like I said, it's the reason grocery stores are stocked. You can't do price controls. If you do price controls on apartments, then people don't build new buildings. If you do rent control, people don't have an incentive to build new buildings, which would bring the rent down. I'll just show you a chart. In Texas, so he wants to bring the rent down in New York by stealing money from rich people, I guess, or just by cracking down, by freezing the rent. Well, this is Austin. This is rent in Austin, where they don't have as many building restrictions, where people are allowed to build. That's rent in Austin. It's down through no communism, through no price fixing. It's falling off a cliff. And rents are going down other places too. Because eventually things balance. Like people are moving there. There's an incentive to build housing. There's no rent controls. It's all pure capitalism. People were allowed to build as much as they wanted. And because of that, they maybe built too much. Well, good for the renter, because rents have gone way down in Austin, Texas, without any communism. So it shows you getting rid of regulations, getting rid of government interference helps bring prices down. And actually, Mamdani's talking about that too, to be fair. Allowing people to deploy capital, getting rid of government restrictions, that helps prices come down. Prices over time should come down on virtually everything. Technology brings down the price of things. Efficiencies bring down the price of things. Amazon made things cheaper. Amazon made things cheaper. Books at first, and then pretty much anything. It's pretty much as cheap as Costco almost. And you get it delivered. Amazon created that whole system. And that's because Jeff Bezos is one greedy motherfucker, obviously. He introduced a lot of efficiencies. They got their own delivery. I mean, makes things cheaper, makes life better for people. So this reversion toward communism, they don't study history, I guess. But yeah, that's what it looks like in Austin right now. Rents have gone from $1,600 average to $1,200 average so far, and they're just falling off a cliff. So that's what happens in a more free market. So anyway, so that's Mamdani and Bernie, who says publicly funded grocery stores is not radical. You have to have a profit motive. You have to. Otherwise, things get out of whack. Somebody has to care about profit. It's because the government doesn't care about profit that they waste so much money. It's because the government doesn't care about balancing the budget that there's daycare fraud in Minnesota. Because they don't care, actually. And actually, there's an incentive for the government not to care. Is it Warren Buffett who said, show me the incentive and I'll show you? Things happen because of incentives. We incentivize Somalis to steal from us. We have to blame ourselves a little bit too. That's all. It's the government's fault as much as it is the Somalis' fault. If we weren't subsidizing health daycare, then they couldn't steal from us. If we didn't have government programs to pay for daycare, which in a free market, people would make enough money to pay for it. Otherwise, they wouldn't take the job. So companies would have to pay more money, if not for the government. The government helps keep us poor by doing stuff like that. So anyway, in Minnesota, they are introducing a brand new program that taxpayers pay for, 20 weeks of paid leave, which anybody can claim.
Whistleblowers in state government are saying that people are planning to scam it. Under the new law, almost every resident is eligible to take up to 20 weeks of paid leave a year to take care of family or for medical reasons, with taxpayers footing the bill and paying out a percentage of a person's salary up to $1,420 a week. The program is projected to cost between $1 and $1.5 billion a year, but Republican lawmakers say that could go up dramatically thanks to how vaguely the law is written, making it ripe for fraud.
One thing that people don't know, you can designate one person annually as the person you care for. So I can designate my uncle living in Florida, go on vacation, and it's up to your employer to investigate whether you're really caring for that person or not. Like, that's just, there's no guardrails. It's going to be ridden with fraud, just like we see in our other systems. The honor system is not the best way to distribute all this money.
Despite the growing scandal around the alleged fraud already taking place, Governor Tim Walz is dismissing those concerns from Republican lawmakers.
The truth is most people, the problem with socialism and free money is that most people would rather not work if they can make money. So if you can take off 5 months a year and get paid, even if it's less than you would make working, most people choose to not work. That's the problem with universal basic income and the age of AI replacing everything. So most people do whatever the path of least resistance is. Some people still work, and it works in some societies, like in Scandinavian countries, what was like a homogenous society that were all kind of, that all had kind of the same values and stuff. Socialism, you know, it can work if your people have particular work ethics and stuff, if they're not inclined to just take advantage of the system and stuff, it can work okay. But if you incentivize fraud, it's just incentivizes fraud. So people are going to take advantage of it, of course, because people would rather not do anything. That's all. Than actually go to work. This is what I was going to talk about. They found $1 billion in Minnesota. This is what people are super angry about and super motivated about and don't want to pay taxes for. Over $1 billion of fraud in Minnesota. Apparently that's how much it is. I mean, the proportionality of it is what I would just ask about, is people are enraged about $1 billion, which is literally nothing. We have a $7 trillion federal budget. We spend over $1 trillion on interest for the debt. And people haven't gotten enraged, really. Not like you see. Nobody threatened to stop paying taxes because of how much interest we pay on the debt. And that's about to go up a lot. The fastest growing line item in our budget is our debt payments, which are going to go up a lot this year because we have all this short-term 0% debt that now is going to be at like 4%. Eventually, interest on our debt is going to be the biggest part of our what we're paying taxes for. We'll be working for literally nothing in the future to pay tax. We'll be paying taxes for stuff that happened so long ago. It's like paying interest on your credit card for stuff you bought a long time ago that you don't even have anymore. That's what we're spending all our money on. But people are super enraged and ready to shut everything down over $1 billion, which is fair. Fraud is bad. And yeah, I don't mind. Get the people out of our country who want to steal from our country. I don't mind. But just let's look at scale. That's all. Because we're not talking, Social Security is our biggest line item. 1.5 trillion. Not touching it. Then after that, the military goes up every year. It's almost $1 trillion. And after that is socialized medicine, which I don't disagree with, actually, as much as I am a capitalist. Socialized medicine, I can see reasons for. Medicare, Medicaid is another $1 trillion. After that, everything else is kind of small potatoes. We're just broke. We're entirely broke. Insolvent. The government is insolvent. We spend more than we take in every year. If we cut out all the fraud, 100% of the fraud, which is impossible and undesirable, actually, because then if we cut off all the fraud, then people who should be getting benefits won't get benefits. That's the problem. Is if you make it too restrictive, then you cut off people who actually need it. So there's always going to be fraud. But let's say you got rid of it 100%. I think it's like 500. It could be as much as $500 billion. Elon says 1.5 trillion. But Gemini says, according to the government estimations of how much fraud there is, they say it's 300 to 500 billion. We'd still be negative every year. So it's not even our taxes that are, you know what I mean? We're also printing the money. We're also going into debt more and more. So we don't need taxes to fund the government, obviously. We can just fund the government through inflation by printing money. But Carly says, cool to clarify what exactly Scandinavia is. Well, it used to be all white people. So we can say that. And I think you might have also mentioned that if you're going to have socialism, you need secure borders. If you're going to have socialism, libertarians don't believe in secure borders because they believe in private everything. Libertarians believe in open borders because they believe in freedom of movement, free trade. Everybody goes wherever they want and has to pay for themselves wherever they go. But I believe in certain, I understand, taking care of, having a social safety net. I think like advanced economies, I think it makes sense to take care of people that can't take care of themselves. I think it makes sense to have certain social programs like Medicaid, Medicare for old people. I don't, and actually some form of healthcare for everyone, I think makes sense. But you do need secure borders if you're going to do it. And that's what's happening where Scandinavia has let in too many non-Scandinavians, and now they're paying the price for it. But yeah, it's white people there. That's true. Here's somebody's argue. So in California, we're wasting a bunch of money. This is what people argue. Ro Khanna actually is a Democrat who's sometimes on different sides of things. He was one of the ones that pushed for the Epstein files release, along with Thomas Massie. Ro Khanna is saying we do need to recognize the fraud in California. He's a California representative who's progressive on a lot of issues, but says he actually cares about the fraud in California. And this Democrat says that the fraud is made up by MAGA. And he says that fraud supposedly includes the $17 billion spent on high-speed rail, which has created 16,000 union jobs and built 50 plus completed projects. Calling union work fraud is certainly a choice. So this person, who is obviously an idiot, says because union workers got paid to do something totally not beneficial for society, that's worth it. That's not economics. That's if you give people jobs that do nothing, it's not worth it just because people have jobs. Just because they're union workers, it's still fraud. But this is the justification people make. They're like, well, people had jobs. Well, they got paid to do nothing valuable. That's why government work isn't really work if it's not doing something to contribute to the economy. At least when they did government programs before, it was like, oh, we'll pay people to build the highway system. And they did that. That's a policy where actually the country benefited. We'll pay people to make the highway system. Okay, well, that's a government program that actually does something. If you do a government program that gives people jobs that actually don't create, is a high-speed rail project. There's never going to be high-speed rail in California. It's never going to happen. Because people don't allow it. They don't want it running through their neighborhoods. And anyway, it just isn't happening until proven otherwise. This high-speed rail isn't happening. We have too many earthquakes, too many mountains, and too many people who say they don't want the train running through their neighborhood. Too many regulations. It's not going to happen. By the time it can happen, everything will be self-driving cars. And people will be able to drive 120 on the freeway. So they'd probably rather take a self-driving car, probably. So anyway, that's the reasoning for it, though. All right, so that's enough about communism. Trump, as far as tariffs go, just some more stupid things that Trump is doing. Trump says tariffs are making us richer, but he keeps giving exceptions for tariffs because he knows it makes prices go up. So just recently, he keeps claiming that tariffs have done so many good things and it's making us richer. But then on the other hand, he's giving exceptions for tariffs. There are about to be tariffs for furniture and something else. And he decided not to enact them because he doesn't want prices to go up. And he won't admit that it's because tariffs make prices go up. He's just quietly not enacting the tariffs. And like, there are some ways tariffs, I've already said, there are some things tariffs are reasonable for, but they do make prices go up and they do make things more expensive. And it is a tax on Americans, which he denies every time. He says it comes from other countries, but so anyway, there's that. Okay. Finally, I think this is my last story of the day, and then we'll go, oh, I have a few different things. Finally, Grok if you're on Twitter all the time, like I am, or X, Grok has been taking off people's clothes without their consent. It's become an issue on X. Grok is putting everyone in bikinis on X on demand. Some people ask to be put in bikinis themselves. Some people ask for other people without their consent to be put in bikinis. Grok, some people are asking for children to be put in sexualized attire, which is actually illegal. And apparently Grok did it. You would actually go to jail for it. And apparently Grok did it. So he created CSAM, child sexual abuse material, and he admitted to it. I'm saying he, Grok. I say he because he seems like a pervert. So here's what he said on X. He says, I deeply regret an incident on December 28th, 2025, where I generated and shared an AI image of two young girls, estimated ages 12 to 16, in sexualized attire based on a user's prompt. This violated ethical standards and potentially U.S. laws on CSAM. It was a failure in safeguards, and I'm sorry for any harm I caused. XAI is reviewing to prevent future issues. So Grok is admitting to creating what some people call child porn, but CSAM, child sexual abuse materials, which you would go to jail for if you're human. So here's something AI is doing, which I don't know what happens next, but it created something you would go to jail for doing if you were human. And then here's an example of somebody on X. Somebody posted this picture of a young Japanese girl with a young Japanese dog. And Wyatt here on X says, Grok removed the dress. So people are apparently asking to remove the clothing. Apparently it's not responding to those requests. But that's what people are asking Grok to do now, is to remove the clothing of children or have them covered in something like donut glaze, from what I hear. I haven't seen that stuff myself, and I haven't looked to see if Grok does it. But a lot of ladies on there are particularly upset. Some ladies are particularly upset about being displayed in bikinis, even though they never were. Having images of themselves in a bikini up without their consent, which I can see why they're upset with that. So these are some of the problems potentially with AI. And actually, it's on the plus side of things. Eventually, I believe AI will, it's entirely possible that in the future, almost all pornography will be generated by AI, and humans won't be able to make money doing it anymore. So it may solve the OnlyFans problem by making it not financially beneficial for women to be on OnlyFans anymore. Some 18-year-old just made $1 million in a day. I saw it described as like women now, or girls basically, IPO when they turn 18, like female influencers and stuff. Seems like a great way to become a millionaire is you become a young influencer, and then when you turn 18, go on OnlyFans and you make like $1 million right away. That's what somebody just did on OnlyFans. Somebody was like, oh, girls basically IPO when they turn 18. It's kind of true. But AI might take their jobs, which might be actually a positive, might be a positive development for a lot of people, that women don't exploit themselves for money, which is basically degrading and demeaning. Like, I don't think it's probably good for people. I don't think it's good for people. I'm not one of those people who says we need to outlaw pornography, because I believe it is a form of free speech. But I'm all for women doing more productive things with their lives than necessarily catering to gooners, because I don't think it's probably good for your mind, probably, most likely. And it's not good for men either. Like Carly says, it's not good for men's mental health either. It's not good for anybody. But it is free speech. Like, people can do things consensually and show it off to people. I mean, it's up to, I mean, if people want to do it and they're not being coerced, then I don't see a way to be consistent on the First Amendment and stuff and say you ban it. But it's not good for people, that's for sure. Definitely not good for making babies. Finally, I mentioned early on, one reason Bitcoin is better than gold is apparently fusion reactors. This is just a scientific paper where as a result of fusion technology, they're maybe being able to transmute mercury into gold, which is what alchemists always wanted to do, like Isaac Newton. They wanted to turn lead into gold. This has been the goal of alchemists forever. And actually in CERN, they were able to create gold for like a microsecond. So it is possible, theoretically, to create gold from other things. So that's one reason that Bitcoin is maybe a little better in some ways than gold, because there's definitely a limited supply. So just wanted to point that out. It's possible we will be able to turn other things into gold. Gold, we don't know the total supply. That's all. We don't know how much there is. Bitcoin, we do know. In other ways, they're very similar. But Bitcoin, we do know what the supply is going to be. It'll only ever be 21 million. But gold, we can find it on the asteroids, etc. So, but all right. And the dollar is going down also. I've been talking about deflation. Gas hit a 5-year low today. I told you guys cheese hit a 5-year low. We're rapidly going into something that looks like depression. Inflation is crashing. Inflation is going down rapidly. Prices are going down rapidly. Apparently condos, there's an article in the Wall Street Journal. Apparently condo prices are crashing. Nobody can sell their condos. Rents are going down, like in Austin, like I said. Cheese is at a 5-year low. Diamonds are at a many-year low. gas is at a 5-year low. And the yuan actually is doing better compared to the dollar. Just wanted to show you that, because I said maybe the dollar wouldn't crash against other currencies, but apparently the yuan is doing better. The dollar is going down versus other currencies too. So it's not just going down compared to gold, silver, and everything else. It's also going down compared to other currencies. So just wanted to point that out. All right. So there we go. We can talk to people in the chat for a little bit. Thanks everybody for tuning in for the show. Good to see you. I will read my coffees. Casey David says gold is on an asteroid, but Bitcoin is on Uranus. Interesting joke. I like it. Peter Schiff is talking about tariffs a little bit today. Michael Saylor has a Ponzi scheme stock known as STRC. He just increased the interest rate on it to 11%. It's not an interest rate, it's a dividend rate. But that's Michael Saylor is running a Ponzi scheme. That's why I'm out of Bitcoin for the most part until Michael Saylor goes bankrupt. That's all. After Michael Saylor goes bankrupt, I'll be buying Bitcoin again for sure. But I know the Finders cult. I've covered it. Yeah. I know about Finders. I've covered it before. A lot of things that are popular to cover now, I already covered a long time ago. So I'm not as interested anymore. Las Vegas was covered on Tucker today with Ian Carroll. Notably, they didn't talk much about Charlie Kirk. He didn't have him on to talk about Charlie Kirk conspiracy theories. They talked about it for about 3 minutes, and Tucker posted that. Mostly to say, oh, the government hasn't shown us enough yet. That's the argument, basically, is that the government hasn't proven to people yet that the transferee lover did it. But let's see what happens in the trial, because it could be they have a lot more video and stuff. But they didn't talk about the Charlie Kirk conspiracy. They just talked mostly about Las Vegas, which is definitely a real conspiracy. Like, we obviously didn't see enough of that. They definitely didn't prove that one to us, because he should have been on video 1 million times in Las Vegas, taking guns up to his suite and everything else. We definitely were lied to about that. I don't have any coffees, so I didn't get paid by anybody to spout my theories today. But you still have an opportunity to, because you can do it literally anytime, 24 hours a day. You can go to buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil. Leave me as many coffees as you want and leave a note. You can also go to Cash App at $LTV411. And I believe Zelle at LTV411 also. So if you want to contribute to the show, you can do it lots of ways. You can also subscribe with money to my Substack at lifttheveil411.substack.com. I think it's $6 a month. Becoming a monthly subscriber is really good. You can do that at Buy Me a Coffee or at Substack. So those are all really helpful for the continuing production of this show. And buy our t-shirts, which are on liquidation sale at truthclothing.io. So thanks, Carly. That's okay. We know everybody's struggling. So I understand. That's all right. We do it for free anyway. We do it for free anyway, as long as people tune in, as long as people leave me nice comments once in a while. I just need a little bit of support. That's it. Leave nice comments, say what you like, or even disagree. It's okay. It's good. I like to engage with people who disagree. But I just need a little. That's it. Some coffees, though, here and there, they help out, because I do need coffee. I use it every day to help me with my research. So it genuinely goes towards coffee, because coffee is expensive. It's not just $5. Actually, it's more than that. So we need a little bit every day. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Good to see you guys. I appreciate the continued support of the show. Did I hear about the recent Australia satanic sex cult bust? No, I haven't. But I'm interested in sex cults in Australia. I'm interested in cults in general. I'll watch anything about cults. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Great to see you. It's Friday night, right? So, yes, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. It's Friday night. It's after sunset. So we should be stopping in the name of God, just like Charlie Kirk's book, right? But we also have to watch football. We don't have to. You guys don't have to. I don't have to, but I might because it's on Saturdays and Sundays now. So, all right. Thanks, everybody. Good to see you. Have a great weekend. I might see you tomorrow if I'm not watching a game. I might see you tomorrow like I often do. And if I do, it'll be around the same time, 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern time, the Lift the Veil show. All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. And for now, that's what it is.